Hey everyone, and welcome to Satisfactory News. I've been making videos about Satisfactory for 7 years now, and have amassed millions of views across these videos, which means I've seen just about every kind of comment out there, and I've seen many of them over and over again. So in this video, I'm going to answer some of the common questions I get, whether it's something about the game, something about my channel, or something about the making of the game itself. How are you flying? One of the most common questions I get is, how are you flying, or what's that gun thing in your hand? And that device that I'm using is called the Hover Pack. This is my favorite item in the game, as it removes the need for scaffolding or walking along the ground, and you can instead hover and fly as long as there's power nearby. This equipment is unlocked, in my opinion, too late in the game. You don't get it until Tier 7, which is the first tier in Phase 4 of the space elevator, the second to last one of the game. I'm well aware that when I use it in videos, it's going to confuse people and spark these comments, because many players haven't unlocked it yet or even know about it. But the reason I use it in my videos is to increase the quality of my content. The benefits became clear to me once when reading comments on another Satisfactory creator's video, where someone said they had a hard time following along with a building tutorial because the player character was on the ground and had to be too close up to the things that they were building. The Hover Pack allows for more of a top-down perspective as well as all the other dimensions, plus it makes it easier to build from farther away. This means in my videos I can more clearly show what I'm working on and choose the angle that would be best for the viewer. I think a little bit of confusion every now and then is a small price to pay for clearer tutorials. What is the goal of the game? Newer players often ask me what the goal of Satisfactory is, and I understand why. New players will see one of my videos explaining how to set up a truck route or how to build something crazy, and wonder how that gets you close to your end goal. Well, I have two different answers to this question. The first is the game has many built-in goals. There are 5 phases, which ask you to build increasingly complex components and turn them in. Then within each of those phases, there are 8 total tiers, including a tutorial, Tier 0. Each one giving you access to new game functions. Each of these tiers has several milestones within them, which are unlocks for specific technologies that you'll need. These milestones can be unlocked with materials that you can produce, usually materials that you have unlocked by going to that new tier. It's all laid out very easily in the hub, and your progress towards your goals on both phases and milestones will be up in the top corner of your screen while you play, so you always know the larger goals you're working toward. The second, more complicated answer to this question is that the goal can be whatever you want it to be. The truth is, most Satisfactory players have never actually finished the game. If you fall in love with the game mechanics, you'll end up doing things that you don't actually need to beat the game. That could be making a massive train network, creating a cool architecture, or making a pen for lizard doggos. And if you haven't really played the game yet, this might sound crazy, but trust me on this one. The game is definitely still a bit of a sandbox, even if there's clear goals. What are those flowcharts and maps? Often in my videos, I will show a flowchart of a production line or I'll show a map with resource nodes. I usually try to shout out these tools in the narration or on screen with text, but it doesn't always happen. So the flowcharts are from Satisfactory Modeler, a free application available to download on Steam that you can run while playing Satisfactory. You can easily design your production lines and input your numbers using a drag and drop system to create your ideal setup. The map with resource nodes is a website called Satisfactory Calculator. It has a ton of other features beyond just the map, including a production planner and a blueprint library, but the interactive map is my most used feature. You can even upload your save file if you're on PC to see what you've built and modify it if needed. I talk about both of these tools and many more in my video about the best external tools for the game, and a link to that video should show up at the top of the screen right now. How does Satisfactory run on handhelds like the Steam Deck or ROG Ally? Handheld consoles like the Steam Deck still aren't as common as a PC or console, but there are a lot of people out there who would love to play Satisfactory on the go. So how does the game run? Most people report that the game runs pretty well at medium settings, with maybe some low settings thrown in as well, especially if you're trying to preserve battery life. You can expect 30 to 60 FPS depending on your exact settings and how big your factories are, but these handhelds will start struggling in the late game even more than a PC does, and those already struggle. With native controller support, Satisfactory also plays very well on these handhelds. Speaking of handhelds, I want to talk about a product that was sent to me recently and that you can use my discount code for if you're interested in buying it. Antank makes high-quality docking stations, power banks, and other accessories for the Steam Deck, Nintendo Switch, and ROG Ally, at a fraction of the price of the official hardware. Sadly, I don't own a Steam Deck or Ally, but they sent me a dock for the Switch so I could vouch for their products. Compared to the included Switch dock, this thing is a dream come true. I never liked how bulky the default one was, making it difficult to carry around. But the Antank dock is sleek and small, easy to throw in a bag. My favorite part is that the Switch actually stays attached, while on the default dock it feels like it's barely hanging on. All of their docks have a great selection of ports, with this one featuring an extra USB port so you can charge your controllers too. Other nice features are the airflow vents and the quick switch button that toggles between displaying on the Switch or the TV, so you can play on a tabletop while the Switch is charging. Check my links in the description and pinned comment to order your own handheld dock and use my promo code SatisfactoryNews to get 10% off your order. This video isn't sponsored, but I do get a small cut of any purchases you guys make using my links, so thanks. Did you make Satisfactory? I don't explicitly get this question, but I often do get comments that imply people believe that I somehow worked on Satisfactory, or at least that this is an official channel, and the answer to both those questions is no. I didn't make it, this is not an official channel. I don't think any of the people commenting know this, but the real answer is a little more complex, because I technically did work for Coffee Stain Studios, the makers of Satisfactory, on a contract basis. But I didn't work on the game, I didn't develop it, I actually edited videos for their YouTube channel. That's more working for the game than on the game, so sorry. If you're leaving one of those comments, I don't have any crazy special inside connections to get that done for you. Is there cross-platform play? Satisfactory has partial cross-platform. PC players can play with other PC players, whether they're on Steam or Epic, and console players can play with other console players, even if one is on PlayStation and the other is on Xbox. But PC and console players can't play with each other. There are probably a few technical reasons for this, but the main reason is that the game could run differently depending on the platform, leading to a subpar experience. PCs are generally more capable at running the game, especially in the late game, and joining a sufficiently large save file could cause the game to crash on console. Additionally, PC players can download mods into their game and otherwise modify the game files in ways that you can't do on console, which would cause issues if a console player attempted to join. Are there solutions? Maybe, but I don't know them, and clearly the devs don't either, otherwise I feel like they would want everyone to be able to play together. Where do you get your music? I apparently pick some good background music because people often ask what tracks I'm using. Most of them are from a website called Epidemic Sound. I pay like $120 a year and get a license to use music from their massive library. Before that, I relied on music from the free YouTube audio library, and on occasion I will still use one from there. But in general, the quality and variety improvement of actually paying a little bit of money for my background music is massive. And even though it may seem like a silly thing to spend money on, it really makes the music selection process easier and makes my videos higher quality. Why can't you play as a man? I get this question on random videos sometimes, but mostly on my lore video where I talked about why the character you play as is a woman. While I do believe many of the people asking are coming from a disingenuous or sexist angle, there are some people who do genuinely wonder why you can't customize the character and just want to play as a different gender. If you want the full reason, along with all of its spoilers, watch my lore video, which I'll link in the cards above right now, but the short, spoiler-free answer is that in Satisfactory, you are a specific character. You are the Pioneer, who comes across as a blank slate, but is unique nonetheless. Whether you're playing Subnautica, BioShock, Portal, or many other games, the focus is not always on the character, who they are, or what their personality is. They're mostly vehicles for the gameplay, and what they look like and who they are is completely irrelevant. They could be anybody. Satisfactory should be thought of as the same thing. You are a distinct character that isn't meant to be customized, but you're still a blank slate nonetheless in terms of the gameplay. But I think it's important to remember that in some games, the character is not you, it's that character. And that's okay. There are certain games where you want to feel represented, but I don't think you need to in every single game. Sometimes it's good to see things from a different type of person's perspective. Granted, I am saying this as a straight white man who happily made and played an Asian lesbian woman character for my Baldur's Gate 3 playthrough, so maybe I'm the wrong person to talk to here. I enjoy playing characters that look and act different than the person I see in the mirror every day, just because I think that's a lot more interesting. But no, in short, the reason is not anything like the devs hating men or something like that. It's just because they designed a specific character who is meant to be that way, and there even is a lore reason to do it, so go check out my lore video. Where do you get this item? People are always asking me where to find certain items in the game, whether it's a decorative item, a certain technology, or a quality of life feature. There are a few different places, so I'll break them down here. Number 1, hub milestones. As you progress through phases and tiers, you can unlock new tech and buildables in the hub. This is your primary source of new unlocks. Number 2. The MAM. The MAM is an often forgotten building, but it's one of the most critical places for finding new things. There are several research trees that help you get access to explosives, dimensional storage, power shards, and much more. It's also the place where you can unlock alternate recipes for items by researching hard drives, which can be found throughout the world at crash sites. Please do not ignore the MAM. Number 3. The Awesome Shop. The Awesome Shop is where you can unlock the majority of the decorative and cosmetic items in Satisfactory. You get coupons by feeding excess items into the Awesome Sink and printing them out. Then you can use these to buy things like railings, beam designs, and more. What's tricky is that there are a few unexpected items here. For example, you can unlock the elevator, which I don't feel like is super intuitive to be in the Awesome Shop with all the decorative components. Do you use any mods? I often get asked if I use mods in my game, mostly in regards to my graphics. I do not use mods, and there are a couple of reasons. The first is that I still haven't experienced the whole game in vanilla, and I don't want to affect the experience of playing as intended. The second reason is for these videos. I don't want people to see something that they can't do themselves if they're on console, or make a new player think there's a feature that they can unlock later in the game. I only want to show things that are possible for everyone, and if I do show something that's platform specific, I make sure to shout it out. As far as the graphics though, I think people assume my graphics are modded because I try to make my footage look as good as possible. I usually play on high or ultra settings, and I have global illumination on, which is probably the biggest factor there. I also mess around a lot with the in-game photo mode to take footage, specifically playing around with the aperture, which can create a nice depth of field effect that you don't get when you're actually playing the game, and makes my footage look quite nice. How do you decide how tall to build? Some players build on the ground, some players build high up above the tree line, and others still choose somewhere in the middle. When you're deciding where to put the floor of your factories, you can of course choose one of the two extremes, but most people want something a little more reasonable. In that case, my rule of thumb is to try to build just above most of the rocks, hills, and other parts of the landscape that stick out of the ground. This lets me expand beyond my initial design without worry. To make the factory look good, I just fill in that open bottom space with platforms or something, and if you're in an area with a lot of trees, you can also choose to cut them down, and in some cases this is really the only option, especially in very forested areas. But I prefer to work with the environment when possible, so I generally build in more open areas. If you misjudged and need to jog over or around a rock formation, I either use that as an excuse to change elevation inside the factory and wall it off, or I somehow work it into the natural architecture. Is there a way to get specific alternate recipes? Alternate recipes are game-changing, and many other games have powerful items hidden in specific areas or behind certain bosses, so it makes sense that people would ask where to find alternate recipes. But this game is quite a bit more random. You unlock these recipes by scanning hard drives in the MAM, and you can find hard drives at all the crash sites hidden around the map. But the result is random. You're presented with multiple options and you get a free reroll. So you have a few different opportunities, but ultimately you have no real control over the outcome. One thing to keep in mind is that you can only get an alternate recipe that you could currently use. So if you don't yet have the blender unlocked, you won't be getting any recipes that require the blender. If you're looking for a specific recipe, look into what tier you need to be to unlock it, otherwise it won't show up in the pool. And for a slightly cheaty solution, I suppose, you can also save your game right before you check a hard drive, and then if you don't like the results, you can reload that save, and you'll get new results for the hard drive. So those are the questions I see most often on my videos, and if you came across this one and watched it, I hope you have a better understanding of the game and my channel. If you have more questions about Satisfactory, you can always let me know in the comments, otherwise I'll see you in the next video. And hey, if you're still here, how about you watch one of those suggested videos that's on your screen right now?